Well, hello guys, welcome. I'm here, Deep Conversations Only, and I'm super excited to introduce my guest, Isaac Garza. Isaac Garza, welcome to this
Thank you.
humble blog. It's such an honor to have you here. I know it's been a while that we haven't connected, but I've been watching your posts and I've been watching your feed, and I'm super intrigued to see what's going on in Isaac's life and how did it become that you came into doing all these meditations and you're really cultivating it and becoming a lifestyle. And so I'm just curious to know what's going on in Isaac's life and how did you get there?
Oof. Well, it's a long journey. It's a really long journey. I mean, we've known each other for so long,
Hmm.
and I
Maybe
bet
like 13, 15 years, or I don't know.
more than that.
I was probably like 13 or something, like when I met you long
Yeah,
ago
yeah.
in
We
Monterrey.
were we were like totally in a different processes of our lives. You know what we
Yeah.
were focusing on and this and that, and we had really great times. And I think that it's 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 good to take advantage of every stage of life for what it
Hmm.
is. Not try to jump into like full
Hmm.
maturity,
Fast
because
forward it. Hmm.
yeah, because then
Enjoy.
then we're gonna be like wanting more at the wrong time.
Yeah. Or we're gonna think like what would have been like if we would have done this or that, and some things are kind of maybe more enjoyable when you're younger.
Sure, and it's more appropriate too. It's
Yeah, that's
every I think every stage in his life should be lived fully for what it is, for what is expected of each stage.
true. Hmm.
We can go really deep on subjects about old souls and different processes for different people. There's not like a recipe that says this is it, and
Or
there's
this is
there's
how it has to
nothing
be.
exactly. So it's
Hmm.
super flexible. But so going back to your question,
Hmm.
how did I like get to this spiritual place?
Yeah, I'm so curious. And I'm sure a lot of people are curious.
I mean, like I said, it's been a long journey, and it started when I was even before we met, but in its own in a different kind of way, because I was born into a Catholic
Hmm.
family. I
Like
was
most Mexicans,
yeah,
it's traditional.
I was in Catholic schools as well. I got sent to Catholic boarding school, so that was intense.
Hmm.
Every day we would go to church at like 6 in the morning. So I
I
basically
understand completely. I went to a Christian boarding school as well. So all of us crazies got sent to like basically boarding schools. But what most people, maybe for like the American culture, they don't understand like how Mexican culture can be. And particularly Monterrey has a specific culture where people, maybe back then, maybe people right now are a little bit more on a different frequency, I guess. But maybe back then it was so taboo. Everything was like, it was just kind of like a difficult place to be free and just be wild and do whatever, because you always had people looking and watching and judging.
for sure, and and
Hmm.
and I think a good thing is that even though we were born into that culture,
Hmm.
we were known to not give a flying beep about
You
what
can
other.
cuss. I've said the word fuck here before. Sure my audience is equally as crazy as I am. So I think
Okay,
this
okay.
is like, a more real approach, like I
Yeah,
want
that's it.
people to, how you said, like in the comment that you put on my picture, like embrace it. Like, I think, and that's a perfect thing to share, because people are still like scared. Even sometimes I get scared. Sometimes I'm like, should I even say this? Because we're just taught by society that some things should not be said, or you shouldn't act this way, or you shouldn't do this or do that.
For sure, and I think that is key. In a sense, that is something that I can attribute maybe to just you know to my soul. you know, because
Mhm.
there are certain types of souls, and there are all types of souls. None are more or less than, they're just different.
Mhm.
And in my experience, also because I came to learn here in this society in Monterrey, which you obviously lived for a while and know perfectly.
Uh-huh.
um at some point, you know, I was 16 years old. I was like one of the last members of my friend group
Mhm.
to smoke pot when I was 16.
Mhm.
And I started smoking, and it was all fun and games. And at one point we got stopped like by a police
Please.
officer, and they took us like to jail, to the county jail, and they put us there,
Mhm.
and we were on the front newspaper. You know,
Mhm.
they couldn't put our full names because we were minors, but they still put the pictures and et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
And
This is crazy.
before that happened,
Mhm.
you know, I thought I was like in this society with a large group of friends that all really cared about me. And if I said, hey, I'm gonna do a party, you know, the house would be full of people.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah,
I
I
would
remember those parties.
I mean, those were after. Those were after, because those were like cool people party. You know,
Okay, okay.
the parties that I'm talking about was like the
The
society guys
society,
from
Monterrey
school,
society. Yeah.
and all of those. And so what happened after we
Mhm.
landed on the front news page, uh, all of the people that I considered my friends, like,
Went away.
vanished, vanished. Like nobody would answer my calls. You
And
know,
it's
nobody would.
crazy that they like I think maybe they weren't really conscious about the harm like these newspapers what they're doing to kids, because like your case, there was a similar case to a friend of mine, and she was only like 13. We
Power.
Yeah, yeah. So it's just crazy to think back then, like why would they do something like this, like to a teenager's life, you know, like to put it on a newspaper and you know, just expose it. And there was a lot of consequences to that. Like I even got like punished in my house because one of my friends that happened to them, you know. So
Yeah.
it's just people don't really think what like by judging what, you know, consequences they can, how they can
It's
hurt people too, you know.
I think the answer to that is really simple, and it's like really cold. It's just bad news sells,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And they're not considering if they're gonna be if damage is gonna be done or not. They're just like, this will sell, put
Yeah,
it on there. That's it.
it's a
You
thrill
know?
for them for people to read it, because it's also art. Like as viewers, we're
Oh yeah.
equally responsible for it, you know, like that we're engaging in this kind of news and this kind of stuff. Like, you know, we're just so drawn uh,
Drama.
to drama,
Yeah.
yeah. Or
Yeah.
morbo, how they say in Spanish, you
Morbo.
know, el morbo,
Morbo.
es un morbo eso. Mhm.
Yeah, totally.
Mhm.
Totally. So what happened was that, I mean, that was a really strong part of my life where I realized that all I thought, you know, all the people that I thought that were my friends and what I thought friendships to be, and this and that, like,
Mhm.
boom, came crumbling down,
Yeah.
and I had to restart from zero.
Mhm.
So, like, of the hundreds of friends that I had, I only like remained with two at
Mhm.
most, and then from there started restarting everything. But
Mhm.
so what I learned from there was that, you know, we only have the power to make ourselves happy. You know,
Mhm.
you can live with a partner, you know, you can have somebody you share your life with, but we are not responsible for, and do not have the power to give other people happiness. You know,
Mhm.
happiness is an inside job. You know, it's something that you take care of yourself. And obviously if you're in a relationship, uh, that can be, you know, the relationship can bump off each other, and then you give like extra points to each other, and
Mhm.
you're, you know, there's a communication, but it's
Mhm.
not that they are giving you happiness, they are contributing to
Mhm.
your experience, you know.
Or
But
like provoking thoughts, or how do they say it? Like triggering. sometimes it could be good triggers, sometimes bad, you know, like some relationships, even friends can trigger some points that you're like, oh my God, like stop, like, you know, stop this, stop doing that. Like, and it's just funny how like, um, external things also can trigger you, but that's not like what this is about.
No, no,
Mm-hmm.
and even I want to stay on the layer of the society, like the relationship we have with society itself, you know, as a
Mm-hmm.
group, as a community,
Yeah.
um, where in society, how that, you know, how that mirrors itself as in personal relationships is that we're all, you know, regularly people are trying to be people pleasers. They want they
Mm-hmm.
want their image and whatever is known of them
Of
to be
course.
in a state where everybody else approves of who they are, but they're not themselves. You know, they have to forget about themselves so that I can
Mm-hmm.
enter to this mode so that other people can appreciate who I am, you know, so that so they can accept me in a certain construct of society.
Yeah.
So in that place, you know, we're always trying to make other people happy, and thus
We
we
forget
have
about
to forget
ourselves.
about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So
Which
and
I
then
think
that,
happens to like a lot of people. It happened to me too at a point, because maybe even though like my essence is being wild and rebellious, I started giving in, and I was like, okay, like maybe because maybe women have some other sorts of like pressures, you know, that you, oh, by this age you should do this, and by this, oh, get yourself a man, you get married, you know, that's gonna take care of you, and like, you know, so you're like, oh shit, like what am I doing with my life? Like, wait a minute, everybody's married, like what, am I the last one here? So you start giving in and thinking like, okay, maybe I have to be part of the system, be part of the society, be part of, you know, and it's I find myself that like I just don't fit in, and it's you'll never be happy if you're not yourself, I think.
exactly, no, and that's totally true because imagine, I mean, who's gonna be happy making other people happy and just forgetting about themselves? Because at the end, we can never, that's where I was coming back to the relationship thing. We only have the power to make ourselves happy. So trying to
Mm-hmm.
please people in society to try to fit in, it's going to be a never ending story.
Never ending
Never
story.
ending story. And how many people do you know that have followed that lifestyle for so long
Mm-hmm.
and they are like grungy and old
Yeah.
and they're like, damn, because they have tried to
Mm-hmm.
spend all of their lives so that
Trying
they,
to do the order, whatever the system that people, the community.
yeah, so that the
Yeah.
community accepts you and you have to be A, B, C, and D. And so
Uh-huh.
they have been fitting into this, even though inside they're probably is like a shitstorm.
Yeah,
You know,
and
but
you see it reflected because a lot of people, because they get pressured by their parents, they have to go to college, and then they're like, wait a minute, but I don't even know what I want to do with my life yet, you know. And then you end up studying something that you don't even like, and then you end up going into this job that you don't even want, and you end up marrying the person that like everybody told you to marry, and all of a sudden like people break and people just leave everything. Maybe that's why there's divorces. That's why there's like depression. That's why there's suicide, you know, because people like are so rushed in to get into that system where like it just doesn't lead to anything other than not yourself, you know. So for me, maybe it was like taking my time. Maybe I see other people, I'm like, wow, like if I would have put all those years instead of like maybe partying or like, you know, being in another world, if I would have put on, maybe I would have been like in a different
somewhere
position
else.
than other people. And sometimes those things also come up, but I come to realize, I'm like, man, like I don't regret anything in my life, you know, because I do like the person that I am. And I don't know, it's about also accepting who you are, how you are, wherever you are, however, doesn't
Yes,
matter. Mm-hmm.
yes, and there's like there's this thing about too much past
Mm-hmm.
and too much future. Too much past brings sorrow. Too much future brings stress.
Yeah.
So where we have to be is in the moment. You know, if we're always looking back, we're gonna, you know, we're gonna be sorrowful. If we're always looking into the future, worrying about the future, about what's not here now,
Mm-hmm.
then we're gonna be stressed all the time.
And I've been
So
hearing this guy, he's on YouTube, New World All Star, and they talk about spiritual traditionalism. They say like time isn't even real.
linear. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not even real, you know. So we're like worried about like, oh, like at age 40, at age 50, at this age, I have to do this and do that, you know. And we make ourselves even older. Our energy feels older. Like we start hunching, and so we just start crippling ourselves, and it's all like mental.
We buy in to these models because we've
Mm-hmm.
been fed all of this information for so long
Constant,
that
constant. Our parents even.
yeah, it's overpowering your subconscious mind. You don't even know that they're operating. So there is a lot of work to be
For
done
sure.
in that
It's crazy.
sense. And I guess that's where meditation comes in. But like my whole journey in my life, I mean, there are very specific situations and moments that were very impactful in my life to come to take more consciousness about what I,
Mm-hmm.
about what I think is more, what should be more of a priority in life, like
Yeah.
reorganize priorities.
Mm-hmm.
So and one of those, I mean, I don't even want to go there because we're gonna take so long just talking about
I know.
experiences.
Uh-huh.
But I guess that like and I'm just gonna fast forward. I learned through the Catholic path,
Uh-huh.
in a very crazy sense. I learned that the love of God is unconditional. It's not like, oh, he's not the punishing God we were taught to fear.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned that in like in blood and bone. I learned it in a sense, and if I just fast forward to it, I went to boarding school, and I was literally known as the worst behaving kid in school, and I know you can believe that because yeah,
You're not alone there, buddy. I got kicked out of like 11 schools.
exactly. No, so we're on the same
Talking
path.
about wild child.
Yes,
That was
yes,
us.
exactly. I basically went to almost all the schools in Monterey as well. So so what they taught all year long was that, okay, if you behave really well, like if you do all the things that we tell you to do properly, you're gonna be loved by God more than if you don't. So on Christmas Eve, they took us to Rome, to St. Peter's, and we were having the Christmas mass in there with the Pope John
Wow,
Paul II
it's
at the
amazing.
moment. So when the Pope started walking down the hallway, all the kids that are like the best behaved kids, they were put right beside the hallway, and then you have second places, third places, fourth places, and then like the worst
And then
behaved
he's
kid.
like on the way back.
Yeah, that was me. I was the last one,
Hey,
literally.
teacher.
I was
Hello.
I was literally the last. So being a rebellious child, I was not gonna sit my way through mass just like that. So what I did was I escaped from where I was. I went to the parallel hallway and started walking all the way to the front.
Mhm,
And then I saw like a zone filled with priests and all. And I
mhm.
was like, okay, I'm just gonna go in there. Like if you were in a in a in a concert and you want to get all the way to the front, I
Yeah,
was just like, excuse me. And I got all the way into the hallway. And when the Pope passed by, I had one hand, like extended hand, and I had placed like all these medallions that I had gotten in the street. I had placed them like in a geometric kind of pattern sense. So I extended my hand like that onto the hallway, and the Pope stopped, and he went to me, and he was like, "Hey, how are
oh,
you?" And I was like, "Boom!" And he
you're
gave me a
blown away.
blessing. He gave me a blessing. He told me that he loved Monterrey and that he would come to visit, etc., etc.
That's amazing.
And and then he left. And there's obviously like pictures and all. And so what happened there is like I didn't realize all this immediately,
Mhm.
but like this caused such like a pandemonium in the school that there was like, how could the worst behaved kid end up with the representative of God in this
Mhm.
path of religion? So they they didn't want that picture to be public, so
Mm.
they didn't put it on the
Wow.
New Year's, which you could use that like for the publicity, like, look, this is our kid with the Pope, you know, and
Yeah.
if you want your kid, this could be your kid too, you know.
You're the poster child of like of
Exactly,
behavior.
of the school.
Yeah.
But so they didn't use that picture because of who I was known to be in the school, and because that went against everything that they had been teaching the whole year. Because if the
That's good.
God knew that I was like basically the devil inside the school, that's what they called me.
Uh-huh.
How could that be? You know, how could that be?
Hmm.
So years afterwards, I was like, holy shit, what does this mean? What does this mean? Like, why did that happen? Why did that, like, that went against everything that I had been taught in that school?
But for
And
those who believe in Jesus, that's
yeah,
one of the points why Jesus came. He came not only to die for our sins, but if we notice through all the stories in the Bible, he went to the weak ones. He, like the guy who had leprosy, the woman that was almost stoned to death. You know, so he handpicked every single person on purposely. Maybe to the outside world, they're outcasts, they're people who are evil, who didn't or don't fit into society, that are weird or this or whatever.
yeah,
But he handpicks all those people, and they serve a purpose. Like till this day, we still see Maria Magdalena, Mary Magdalene in the movies. She's such an important figure, you know,
mhm,
and everybody remembers all those people, you know, because he chose them wisely to know that with the weak, or maybe the people who don't necessarily are like the standard, he knew that he can work the most, you know. So I think
mhm,
there's an important story also like to share, and the
mhm.
reason why God tends to pick certain characters do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's nice. I hadn't looked at it from that perspective. You know,
Hmm.
taking in some of the biblic teachings and all.
Hmm.
What I just went to conclude was that, you know,
Hmm.
no matter who you are, and this is a comparison that can be done very simply as a human being.
Hmm.
Like, if I am a parent, you know, I have 4 kids, only 2 of them live with me, but
Hmm.
I'm a dad, so I know
Congrats, by
what it
the
is.
way. I saw recently your pictures of your family. I was like, wow, congratulations. You're all
Thank
grown
you.
up. You're a family man.
Yeah, yeah, and I love my kids. You know, it's an amazing journey.
That's awesome.
It's a learning experience, and it's a beautiful thing. You know,
That's
they're like,
awesome.
yeah, and you know, just being a parent, I believe it goes both ways. We're not just educating our kids with our example, you know, because some
Mm-hmm.
people educate with words but not with example.
Yeah.
And but we also learn so much from them, so much, so much. So it's a thing that goes both ways,
Mm-hmm.
not like just a one-way thing.
That's
So
awesome.
coming back to
Meditation.
yeah, no, to the Pope thing, was that it's like, as a parent, as a mortal parent, you know, I love I love my kids unconditionally.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a mortal being, and I know unconditional love because I am a parent and I love my kids.
Yeah.
So if that is possible in an imperfect being on earth, you know, how or who do we think we are if we don't believe that the love of God can be unconditional?
Unconditional.
You know, like,
Mm-hmm.
who are we to think that that is not possible if we as humans know what it is? So from
Mm-hmm.
that point of view, from that realization, there is so much freedom that comes back to the point where I told you, embrace it. You know,
Embrace it.
it's
Yeah.
like God loves everything about you, everything.
He made you
'Cause-
just like that. Yeah.
exactly.
And for, I think for maybe for the for those who believe either God, source, the light, whatever you want to call it, I think like the whole purpose is it, I for me, I'm still learning like how to master Zen and meditation, control the mind, because the mind plays lots of tricks on you. And And but once, from what I'm reading and what I'm searching, is that the once you clear out, like, or not, or detach from the mind, you all you become is sense sen. And when you become sen, there's like no right or wrong, or good and evil, or sad or mad, or this or that. So like the duality of that starts kind of disappearing, you know. And for people to maybe be like judgmental or this, and then that's something that they should consider, you know, because your mind is playing a trick on you, you know. And there's no such thing as good and evil. I mean, it depends also like on the philosophy that you're approaching, but
Yeah, like for sure, and like one of the teachings that I love of the Buddha is that
mm-hmm,
he talks about the middle path.
mm-hmm,
So let's take for example, like, like the yin yang, there's
mm-hmm,
the light and the darkness, and if we go to either extreme in the physical drawing of the yin yang, if you go to the white side, there's going to be a black dot, and then on the black side there's going to be a white dot. So what it says is that they're both connected. You through pure light you go to the darkness, and through pure darkness you go to the light. So
mm-hmm.
they are
They're
basically,
connected, intertwined, and
yeah,
they circle around.
yeah. and
Mm-hmm.
and what Buddha says is, don't go to either extreme, walk the middle
In
path.
the middle.
So what it is, it's really simple as a human, as a being, to be like, oh, I am so good at this, and I'm very good at that, and I love this. It's very easy to promote
Uh-huh.
your
Your
light.
ego.
You know, it's,
Yeah, yeah. But that's the ego.
and it's very easy to not only promote it, but to accept your light, to accept who you are, who
Mm-hmm.
all this bright being is. It's like, it's just delicious. And then
Uh-huh.
on the dark side, you're not you it's hard. It takes
It's
courage. It
hard.
takes
Mm-hmm.
courage to accept your dark side. And I think one of the things that comes back to the Mexican society kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing is that we were, so many things of our being were repressed, as our sexuality and all. We were
Yeah.
like, we were not given the proper tools, to experience and experiment with knowledge in our hands. We were basically just
Mm-hmm.
like thrown out there and be like, you go and figure it
Yeah.
out.
That's
Everything,
exactly how I
yeah,
felt. Like
everything is
thrown into the
prohibited.
world. A ver cómo
Everything is
le hago.
everything is prohibited. Nothing is ever. So yeah, just
Yeah.
go out there and experiment. So one of the things that, like, what I want to do differently with my kids when they come to age is
Mm-hmm.
that I'm not gonna edit out all my dark stories,
Mm-hmm. That's good.
all my troubling stories. I'm gonna be very transparent about what experiences I lived
Mm-hmm.
at that moment in time, and I'm gonna share exactly what I learned from that. Because if
Mm-hmm.
I edit out my stories, I am cutting a line of knowledge, of
Yeah.
all the experiences that I learned. I'm not giving them the privilege to experience that through me, so that they might.
And that it's okay, like
Yeah.
it's part of life, that if you're going through rough times, that if you're rebellious or if you did something wrong, that it's okay. Like being punished for one thing, like for the rest of your life, is not healthy, because we all make mistakes. We're all human beings. If you're a human being, you're going to make a mistake, you
Mhm.
know. And so I think people should start seeing like this in a different way. And what a great time right now to start looking at life in a different perspective, you know, that it's not like how, because I always say, like, the reference, for example,
Yeah.
Walt Disney created psychopaths in women. I'm sorry to all my friends out there. I love you guys. I know you're watching this, but like, and you see that because it's not a reality, it's not real. So what happens, we grow up thinking that everything's going to be like a fairy tale story, and that we're going to find Prince Charming, and that everything's going to be happily ever after. And then you encounter problems when you're a teenager, and you encounter this and that, and you're like, fuck, like what, like my life should have been this. And you're always trying to obtain like some sort of perfection or some point, or the tip of a mountain. You always strive to reach that point, that peak, and you never get there. Why? Well, because we're in a delusional world.
Or you get there and you're like, what's next? You know,
Yeah.
some people don't know what to do afterwards, and they worked
Mm-hmm.
all their life to get to this point. They're like there, and I'm like, oh shit,
Yeah.
so we're not, is there nothing else? And then
Mm-hmm.
I was like panicking. But
Yeah, and it's a lot to soak in, you know.
yeah, so the darkness and the light, going back to that point, is
Mm-hmm.
that when we are repressed with so many things about our darkness, and I like one of the big ones was sexuality in here in Latin American
Mm-hmm.
culture. So those dark things were taught like, look away, that, and you don't
Like,
want
I
to
know,
talk.
Dios,
Yeah, exactly.
Dios santo, no, no, por favor. Uh-huh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's like
oh my,
look
yeah,
away, ask for blessings and eternal saving, and
yeah.
just
God
walk
bless
away,
him, like God bless his soul.
pretending that never happened, and you don't want other people to know about that. So, and you to yourself want to try to ignore that as much as possible, try to
Mm-hmm.
pretend that that never happened in a sense.
Resisting it or
Yeah,
rejecting it, yeah.
exactly. So to look into your darkness, it takes courage. We need to unlearn so many things we were taught, you know,
Mm-hmm.
to because if we ever want to transcend that, let's say that chapter of darkness, or those couple of chapters that are like stored there that I don't want to look into, if I ever want to transcend those, like evolve from that, first of all, I have to
That's it.
I have to look at it to
Mm-hmm.
actually get to know it. So like, oh, there you are. Oh, that's interesting. And starting to know what my darkness holds, what's in there, I can actually at one point, if I decide to, move on. But if I don't know what's there, how can I ever transcend it? So looking into my darkness is a really important part of personal evolution. That's where the embrace it comes into, because
Mm-hmm.
it's there are these parts of who we are that makes us who we are, and it's a very special and unique and only mixture of you that makes you you, and nobody else in the universe is that exact same mixture of all those magical elements that make you you. So getting to know yourself, obviously you're gonna have some exotic bits in there, because no one is the same. So it's like embrace all those parts of who you are, when we are
And
in a
what would you like, maybe like a tip or something for those people who it's like the first time getting in touch with themselves, like it's because I've been going through a process, right? And learning to see that dark side, it's like it's like like what the fuck? So it can be a quite scary, it's a scary process, and it can be uncomfortable. Like what would you recommend people to
the
like a tip or something, a tool that while attacking that, or not attacking, while discovering that self of yours, like what to do?
Well, meditation, of course. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
meditation. I mean, it has been such a big thing in my life that I've gone through lots of stuff and lots of experience in this and that, but meditation is the medicine. Is like,
Mm-hmm.
there are like, our even like physical health, you know, is derived from being in a positive or a good state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
It even not only like all these emotional parts of us, and how we feel psychologically. Do we have low, high energy? Do I have a positive outlook on life? Am I always like going to the dark sides and pulling myself down? Do I have a pattern of negative repeating thoughts in my mind, or
Mm-hmm.
am I thinking, or do I catch my mind like trying to go somewhere and I'm like, hey, 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 no, let's go this other way, and let's
Yeah.
use the power of repetition inside of the subconscious to bring in positive, positive stuff. So meditation is a wonderful tool that has been used for millennia. It's like, and it's very powerful, and it's related to prayer. It's related to every kind of, uh, you know, uh, it's inside of all of religions, but religions have poured it into where we are always asking for stuff outside. We're asking somebody else to fix me instead of trying to know myself more.
From
Try
which
and,
and within.
and exactly, and recognizing that God is not an entity that is in this church and he's waiting for me in there. And if I want to go visit him, I have to go physically into that space and, hey, like, hey, God, here I am. How are you? Oh, nice to see you. It's like, hey, he's everywhere, in everything, in every molecule, and I like to when I think of God, I think about light for sure, because it's like
Mhm.
beyond form, beyond figure. It's like pure,
Mhm.
brilliant energy.
I don't think
So
we'd be able to like label it or comprehend like no painting, no figure can I don't know. I think it's a lot more than what we think, and I think we should definitely explore more of that. Mhm.
for sure, and there's this saying that says, like, if we try to comprehend it like with our mind, like intellectually,
Mhm.
if we try to comprehend it intellectually, we'll never ever ever resolve anything. We'll
Mhm.
never get to a point where, like, oh, aha.
Mhm.
It's more like we just need to be conscious about it. We need to
Mhm.
be conscious about the infinite, omnipresent presence of divinity. It's like, just be conscious about it, not try to intellectualize everything, or what's his name, or what, because there's like 1,000 they say, like, uh, mil nombres innombrable, like 1,000
Mhm.
infinite names and the unnameable, and there's so many different versions of this and that, but it's just like cutting through the noise and
Mhm.
going back to source, and just remembering all of this becomes so much more tangible through meditation, because we are bombarded
Social
with.
media, everything is like, I don't know if anybody else notices it, but social media is super addictive. And I think that that's one of the things that I'm actually considering to put away for a little bit, because it can stop a little bit in that process, right? Like the how you're connecting with life, like you can go a full day on your phone or on computer and you forget to go out and live and connect, or just enjoy nature, like that's so important.
And now, I believe the situation now with the COVID pandemic and all of this
Mhm.
is especially telling, because you can't go out. You don't have all these physical distractions or activities that you're used to having.
Yeah.
Now it's like connecting to the world through my phone kind of a thing. So
Yeah.
it's like, wow. It's like, and in a sense, it's a digital replacement for social interaction,
Mm-hmm.
can bring some like relief,
Yeah.
but is how much time do you, and also, like, I it's always very important to keep a close eye on yourself for sure, because if
Mm-hmm.
someone's scrolling, like, what the fuck, and like, no, 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 okay, I'm gonna read a book. I'm gonna listen to an audiobook. I'm gonna watch this beautiful documentary. I'm gonna give myself quality entertainment or
Mm-hmm.
education. It's just,
Yeah.
we have to be very, our most precious resource is time. That's the one that we can never get back.
Mm-hmm.
So, when
How
we're
we
on
use
our
our
death,
time on this world is,
exactly.
we have to think about that.
When we're on our deathbed, at some point in life we're all gonna be there, and we're not gonna be wondering, oh, I would have
How
liked to
many
see
likes?
you.
How many likes did I get?
How many followers did I get? Oh yes, now I can die peacefully. You know,
Did I get verified? Shut! I didn't live my life.
exactly, exactly. So we're gonna be looking into those, moments where the most simple things that matter the most. Like how much, if you have family, it's like how much how much time did I give myself, to keep learning, to keep evolving as a human being, to take in all of this information that I received. How much of that I got into my consciousness did I actually crystallize into my life, and make it like
Yeah.
real, make it part of my life, because we can be also overly fed with so much information, but is what really important about all the information that we get is that we make it part of our real lives. We
Hmm.
crystallize it into yourself, where it becomes part of who you are after a while, like
That
muscle
your
memory.
reality and your inner world start um, bonding. Start becoming
Yes,
equal. Hmm.
exactly, exactly. And part of looking into your darkness, and working to know what's in there is to come back into unconditional love, where you're like, okay, there are these exotic bits of me that would be deemed, upon what I've been taught to be deemed like something
Hmm.
bad. I come to peace with it, because I release the judgment of this being good or bad. I just accept it as part of me. And
Hmm.
coming to peace with yourself through getting to know your darkness, because
Hmm.
that's where we need to dig. The light is like, it's right there, it's in your face.
Yeah.
But the darkness is like, we need to dig in and find in, and it might be scary, it might be painful, it might be all of those things, but it's definitely a part of who we are. We are born this way, and there's nothing wrong with
There's nothing wrong with you. Don't take medication. Don't take
oof,
pills.
oof, oof. And that's a whole nother podcast.
A whole
That's
nother I feel like we can talk about so many things. We're reaching close a little bit, but I do want to ask you. I want you to tell us a little bit about Meditando Ando and
yeah,
Casa Semilla.
cool,
Mhm.
cool. So meditando ando, is like, I've been guiding meditations in Casa Semilla
Mhm.
for, I don't even know how many years, but Casa Semilla has been going on for about 11, almost 12 years.
Mhm.
And at first I didn't know how to meditate, but I wanted to meditate. So we
Mhm.
brought in guides, people that already knew how to do this, and I started learning from them. And we were doing meditations every Monday and Thursday. And it became really sketchy to try to depend on exterior people that were not getting paid, because it's always been free. It's always
Mhm.
been free. So at a certain point I was like, Isaac, you got to do this. Just jump in and do it yourself. So I had already done a lot of meditations. I knew like the patterns, I knew different styles, this and that, and I was just a bit afraid to step into it and be the guide
Mhm.
myself. So the situations and life pushed me to do that, and I took the step,
It's a whole nother journey.
a whole nother journey. Which
Mhm.
obviously, I mean, when I am meditating, I never think like, oh, I am the guide and I have nothing else to learn. I'm just giving you
I
everything
am
that
the
you
enlightened
need.
one. I have ascended.
If you ever find anybody that that is claiming that, run away.
Run.
Run away. Yeah.
Yeah, go the other way. They're delusional, folks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So every meditation that I guide, I learn something. Every meditation that I guide, I am meditating with the people that I am guiding. And I always tell them, in this life, we are all teachers and we are all students. You know, there's stuff that you might learn from me, and there's stuff that I'm gonna learn from you.
Yeah.
So open up your chakra, your vocal chakra. I want to
Mm-hmm.
hear divinity talk through you. And
Mm-hmm.
what we usually do after a really good meditation session, we share our experiences, and from that comes so much enriching material. Like that's the beauty of meditating in groups. So being that the pandemic has changed the models of everything, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm gonna start to guide meditations just like through my WhatsApp. I mean, through my
Mm-hmm.
Instagram. I'm
Uh-huh.
gonna go live. I'm just gonna share my
I saw one
meditation.
of them. I was like, okay, Sag, let's see. That's why I was like motivated to talk to you, because I was like, okay, I'm gonna see what he's doing, you know. Then I went to the meditation. I was like, okay, like I think this deserves a deep conversation. People need to know, you know. And I think people sometimes we scroll and we overlook, you know, like things that can be very important, you know. So I'm so grateful that you were able to do this. But finish telling us about Casa Semilla.
No, and thank you for inviting me over.
My
It's
pleasure.
nice. It's nice to connect with you as well. Hear about where you are and what you've been doing all this time, and then
Yeah,
seeing you like
yeah.
this as well. It's
Uh-huh.
cool.
It's cool. Yeah, I mean, like, who would have thought?
Exactly, for both
the
of
the
us.
people who you least expect it, I'm sure that you'll always find like great, rewarding, you know, interactions. That's what I'm thinking. So it's just always cool to connect with people when you least expect it, or however you least expect it.
I think that a common ingredient would be
Mm-hmm.
we questioned everything. We were like, we were told not to do this. We're like, why not? We were like, oh, behave this way. Why not? Why should?
Don't touch it. And I'm like,
Exactly. So
no means
curiosity,
yes.
curiosity
Mm-hmm.
is an ingredient, and question everything. I believe that we can, evolve and
Mm-hmm.
refine our light as beings, our experiences as spiritual and physical beings
Mm-hmm.
through questioning everything, like in a curious way. Like, and why is that? Oh, really? And how does that work? And like, and what's behind that? And
Yeah.
oh, okay, so why do they believe this? Oh, that's cool. Asking questions.
And
We
also, I think another, sorry to interrupt, another thing that like I've been thinking about and realizing, like, if I were to tell something to younger generations, I would tell them, live your life, like live it. Don't care about what people say. Don't care about, because in the end, when you get older, and I'm sure you've seen this, people our age, they're in maybe in a more unhappy situation. They're lost, frustrated, they hate their job, they hate their life, you know, they're married to somebody, like, and they're just, you know, frustrated because they didn't live their life. And a lot of my friends, all of my girlfriends are like, don't get married. And like, not like, but before they were like, oh, why aren't you married? Blah, 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 you know? So it's like, for me, it's like, I'm kind of glad that I just decided to just live and enjoy my life, no matter how it was. Just do whatever you want, like be free, because at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. We're here for experiences. Like, you know, you can always, there's always time to work and make money and all that, like, and go into the system, but to enjoy life, I think, you know, and when you're young, I think it's just even more fun when you're young.
For sure, and like
Mm-hmm.
every stage of life, there are optimal activities for every stage of life.
Mm-hmm.
So like the not giving a fuck phase is like go
Mm-hmm.
for it fully,
Yeah.
you know and one thing that I do say about the use of drugs, which is important as well,
Mm-hmm.
is that for me there are two ways. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that that was the key to my to my experiences in that time, is that I did this unconsciously. But so the two ways for me are this: one is to escape from reality, because you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
escape from something. You're using that
Exactly.
to numb and escape. And the other one is to explore.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, obviously, that's just gonna make the hole deeper, and that's not gonna solve anything. And that's just, if you leave thing
Yeah.
shit unresolved, it's gonna come back.
What persists, what you resist will persist. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And
Mm-hmm.
I believe in my uh, in my experience, I was more of an explorer. I was like,
Mhm.
"Ooh, what's that? Oh, that's interesting." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, let's hear about this one." And, and it was, I was happy with my life. I was happy with what I was living and everything. I was
And I
just
think a lot of people really looked to you, and you stood out because people were like, "Wow, like Isaac doesn't care. Like he does whatever he wants." And that was also like I remember you being like one of the most popular kids like in Monterrey, even though you didn't give a shit about anything or what like society thought. Like you still did what you wanted, and that's one of the things that I admire. That's one of the things that I look in the people around me. I like people who just don't care and don't want to be like all square. Mm-hmm.
yeah, not try to model ourselves
Yeah.
from society's perspective or trying to please
Mm-hmm.
the exterior, because we're never going to finish trying to make other people happy if
Mm-hmm.
primarily we have forgotten about ourselves. So that goes all of this goes back to having a relationship, a really nice relationship with yourself. And what
Mm-hmm.
better way to do this than through going deep within who you are, and to try to go deep, and through all those layers that
Mm-hmm.
all those protections that we set up ourselves, you know,
Yeah.
then meditation. Like meditation is like when you meditate, you're choosing yourself
Mm-hmm.
over everything else. You're like you're giving yourself the prime time. You're like, hey, I'm gonna turn off my phone. I'm gonna shut down like every distraction outside, and I'm gonna give myself time to
Priority.
reconnect with me,
Mm-hmm.
because we come first. Like in a personal level, if you don't come first, all of your other relationships are gonna turn into shit.
That's
If
true.
you're not in a good relationship with yourself, you're
Mm-hmm.
not gonna look for good relationships outside.
That's
You're not
true.
gonna know what they look like.
Everything will kind of reflect like your interior life. If your interior life is crumbling, your exterior life will manifest into something similar.
Yeah, because you have like these set of eyeglasses
Mm-hmm.
that have certain type of vision, and that type of vision is who you are in that moment. So
We
you're
have, sorry to interrupt, we have 3 minutes. Would you like to kind of just add, I don't know, something that you want to share really quick or where to follow you?
so I'm on Instagram as Don
Mm-hmm.
Semillo. You can find my meditations, which right now are in Spanish,
Mm-hmm.
and but I promise I'll do some in English. I have no problem doing that. I just have to
Yeah, yeah.
because what I'm doing actually is just recording my live sessions like
Uh-huh.
here in the studio at the same
Like
time,
this. Mhm.
and then I post those into Spotify. But I mean, they're gonna sound 1,000 times better because of the microphone,
Yeah.
and I am putting like 3-dimensional ambiances of nature, so you get
Really
like
cool
really,
graphics too.
yeah, it's really nice, and I do those as well. I mean, I like to experiment with a lot of art, you
Nice.
know, forms and this and that. But I'm there, and I'm glad to get to know all of the people, that are being magnetized towards you and towards what you're
Mm-hmm.
doing now, and to keep sharing as well. We can
Mm-hmm.
do so many more talks, and I would like
I
to
know. I mean, I would be honored to have you again. This was definitely a super enlightening conversation, and I think we all need to hear more of these kind of conversations and really start connecting. And I learned things from you right now, and hopefully other people will learn as well. Like embracing your darkness, and hopefully you can come back. That would be awesome as well. I would be honored to have you back.
I'd love to.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you guys for watching. This was Deep Conversations Only. Hit the like button and make sure to subscribe and follow Don Semillo. Tune in for more. Bye, guys. Un abrazo.
Bye.
Muchas gracias.
De nada.
Bye, nos vemos.